Hey there, welcome to today's episode. I'm going to be doing a live unedited session, and hopefully my voice is going to hold up throughout. If it gets a little bit hoarse or I start sneezing throughout this, I do apologize in advance. I'm coming off the back of having COVID, and that's not the first time I've had it. My partner and I got it at exactly the same time, and with our 5-week-old baby, it's been quite an interesting time for the last week or so. Typical COVID just kind of, hangs around for quite a long time. You can see I'm using Ableton. This is actually now Ableton Live 12, only upgraded a couple of days ago. So I haven't really got much to say about this so far. It was 180 UK pounds, which I thought was quite expensive, but that is to go from Ableton Live 11 suite to the 12 suite. So it is the full version of Ableton. 180 pounds for the update. Time will tell whether I think it's money well spent, but I'm hoping there's a lot of features tucked away under the hood because there isn't a lot of new instruments and things, not that I've noticed so far. But anyway, we'll dive into that at another point. The user interface looks pretty the same, not really too much to tell. Looks maybe slightly more modernized. Some of the plugins look different, but yeah, I'll do some more research into that and we'll look at that in another episode. We're going to cook up a beat of some kind. No idea what we're going to do. I'm going to start with, say, a drum rack. So let's bring a drum rack in. And I've put my tempo at 150 today. I just want to experiment. I'm having a little bit of kind of boredom in terms of like the creative process because I do a lot of tutorial videos, different stuff. I'm a hip hop guy and I still want to follow those same kind of, patterns and techniques. I love sampling, chopping things up. But I just thought, why not switch up the tempo today to something completely different and just to see what happens. And yeah, we can experiment. So 150 BPM rather than the usual down in the kind of 70 to 90 region. And I'm going to load in some sound. So I'm going to go to my wave files and see what we've got. We're going to go to drums. Let's go to Beat Butcher. And I think we'll go with some one shots. And then we'll take a kick drum. What I need to do here is just make my volume a little louder. This one here sounds pretty good. And then we'll take a hi-hat, put that one in. And then I want a snare drum as well. So let's find a snare drum. Yeah, sounds pretty good. Just some basic stuff to get us kicked off. I'm going to put a MIDI clip in. Sometimes I drum things in. Sometimes I just pencil things in. Because we're doing a slightly faster BPM than I tend to work with, I'm going to brush things in and see what happens. So we're just going to put a couple in here. Got our snare drums. Let's put the headphone icon on. All just stuff in the very typical places. In fact, actually, let's move the snare drum over here and see what that does for us. Whoops. So let's start by shifting this over a little bit more. I don't necessarily want it to come over a whole step, but maybe just to put a little bit more space in the second kick drum. Okay, actually I do want it to come over almost a full step, but not quite. Want to keep some stuff off the grid. Let's drop this one down a little bit. Real simple. And then, I don't know, maybe like another little double up here. But I want a couple of like more ghosty kind of kicks in. Yeah, and I kind of like that. It's got a nice little kind of off-kilter sort of rhythm to it because we're not putting the snares in the, kind of more typical places. We'll take both of the snare drums and maybe just make them a tiny bit lazy as well. And in terms of velocity, you'll notice I am changing some things as we go through, but I don't know, let's maybe make our second snare a little quieter. Good enough. Then let's put some hi-hats in. Go back to the beeper. Someone said pencil the other day, which made me laugh. Let's do it like this. And again, I want to just drag them off the grid. And where it comes to the snare, I think I want them ever so slightly behind the snare so they're not clattering kind of beforehand. And then we need to do something about the velocity because, yeah, they're all hitting at exactly the same velocity and it sounds bad. So let's take this here. I do believe there are some new MIDI functions inside of here, but just because I haven't played with it too much, I don't want to get too lost. But I'm sure there is. In fact, what have we got here? Is there a humanize? I'm sure I saw humanize somewhere. Was that back over here? What does humanize do? I guess humanize just shifts off the grid a little bit, but there'll be something that lets you randomize, I'm sure, the velocity. You could kind of do that on Ableton 11, so they must be able to do it on 12. But there are new MIDI tools, I believe, for kind of being quite creative and chants and all that kind of stuff. Let's just want to shift some of these around. We just do it the old school manual way. Suits me. All right. Little bit of a look at the drums themselves. Let's take a look at the hi-hat. I'm going to start by running some of the high end off that. And just trim that sample down so it's real short, real snappy. But then so that we can go to, let's go to audio effects. Unfortunately, because I've updated, all of my favorites have now completely disappeared. I need to come back in and spend some time cleaning this up and putting things back where I had them, because I had like delays and stuff that I use all the time into nice little favorites folders. And for some reason, since I updated, it's not working. I can't remember if I said that at the beginning of the video because my head's fuzzy with this COVID thing, but if I didn't, this is the 12.1 beta version of Ableton, which you can gain access to via the beta program if you get a proper authorized copy of 12. So what we've got here is delay. I just want to try a little delay in here. Okay, yeah, like that, little bit of delay just to start filling out some of the spaces, make the hats a little bit more interesting. I'm going to quickly duplicate the loop so that we can just add in some slight variation to like the next half. Maybe we, let me just do that. I used to know the command for that and I've completely forgotten. I'm going to switch the drums out. I'm going to put one of the kick drums over here a little bit, I think. And with the second snare, I'm actually going to put that back into a slightly more typical place. And at this 150 tempo, we're kind of like, yeah, kind of old school, faster breaks, maybe slightly more than what you would have got on some of the like older records, but not drum and bass territory. We're not like up into the 170s yet. And purely the only reason is just for experimentation. It's like painting pictures. I don't paint the same picture every time. Sometimes I want to do realistic stuff, like ultra realistic, and then some months I just want to paint abstract and just have the freedom of it. Feel a little bit like that with music. You can let me know in the comments, but sure you guys feel the same at times. You just get stuck in a rut doing the same thing. And even I'll always come back to hip hop as being my main love. It's kind of the music I like to make the most. But experimenting with other things like this just might give some kind of knock-on effect to how I then, mess around with something else later on, going back to like hip hop styles. So drums, okay. Turning the hi-hats down a little bit. Overly loud hi-hats just irritate me. We're going to do a little bit on the what is now called the main channel. We don't use master as a term anymore. Main is the term. So we've now got our main channel and we have got our main effects. Going to be using some compression here, drum parallel compression. Just as a starting point. On the drums themselves, I'm going to try putting in the drum bus, good old typical Ableton drum bus. It's kind of funny, I don't think anyone really knows what the drum bus does. I've heard Kenny Beats talking about this the other day. It's like, it kind of says what it does. There's some compression and there's some other stuff in here, but it's not hugely clear what it's doing. But it definitely will give some good like life and punch. We'll add a little bit of compression in here as well, and we'll up the crunch. The only thing we will have to watch is kind of our headroom because it will get louder. So let's just bring the overall volume down a bit. Yeah, punchy, snappy, kind of like that. I think what it needs, though, is a little bit of reverb maybe on these drums. I like reverb on drums just to put them into space. So we'll go with, again, used to be in my favorites, but it's now disappeared. We will go back to audio effects. I'm looking for reverb, of course. And in Ableton 11, there was one called Spacious, which I'm assuming is still here somewhere. There we go. I'm going to drop that in. I want to make sure I'm dropping this in before the drum bus, before the crunch and stuff. I want the reverb to be getting crunched up as well. And we're going to take the dry and wet down. Put a low cut on. I kind of only really want to be affecting the sort of mid-range a little. And then we'll just dial that into how we like it. Yeah, like that sounds kind of cool. Real low on there. If you add compression, and we're adding kind of compression here and also on the main channel. So when you raise up that noise floor and you raise everything up, if you put reverb on here, you'll notice only at 7.1%, we're getting some of that. It will definitely increase that a lot if you start adding compression. But yeah, I just want that sound like all the drums are kind of, they were recorded in the same space, kind of glued together. Maybe one last other thing, maybe like a little bit of saturation in here as well. And we're using all the standard Ableton stuff. I'm going to put that... Should we put that before the drum bus? Yeah, let's put it before the drum bus. And what I'll do is I'll dial the output down so that we can drive it pretty hard and just get them to crunch up a bit more. Yeah, sounds pretty nice as like a break. So we've got a few choices, things that we can do here. One other thing I should mention as well is that there is a new plugin, I think, called Raw, which does this kind of thing. Like it's got some saturation, it's got a bunch of other stuff in, but you can do it on like a multi-band level, which looks pretty cool. Only reason I'm not using it now was because I'm just not savvy with it yet, so there's no point in worrying about it too much. But I did notice that was in Ableton 12. So what I'm thinking we do is we take these drums and we resample them now because we've added a bunch of stuff. We've got some compression on the master channel and everything else. If I set this to resample, it's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to resample inside of the device itself. 150 BPM. Let's record this, see how we get on. We'll record, I don't know, a couple of bars, 4 bars or something. And one thing before I crop the clip down, there's sometimes that you'll get like latency when it's like recording in here, even when it's resampling. It's not too bad at the moment. And I do believe reading something about latency being addressed in the latest Ableton, because Ableton's always had a bit of a bad reputation for its latency when recording stuff anyway. But that's going to be good enough. So we can now crop this down. So we're going to crop the clip. This now says crop clip to sample, crop clip sample to time selection. I believe it used to just say crop clip, so I think some, wording is changing throughout the device. We can also normalize in here, I noticed, which is great. Couldn't do that before. Used to have to use an external audio editor. But if I normalize that, we are now working with an audio clip. So I'm going to cut the drum rack out, and we're just going to go with this because this is our new drum loop. Thing we're going to have to do is give it some headroom because it's crazy loud. And also, because we put some compression on here before, we're going to take this off our main channel. We don't want this on anymore. And what's cool about this is that we can chop this up and then kind of re-put it together again. So if we use our right click, we can convert this and we can slice to a new MIDI track. It's going to ask me some parameters that I want to change. Depends on how many slices you want. This is going to give me 16 slices. It tells me here 16 beats long will result in 16 slices a quarter note. So that's going to be fine. But if you want to change that out, you can do that. I'm not too worried about preserving the warping or anything. So we just click OK. And now if we just silence this track, because they'll play together. You will see we have our drum loop back as we intended, but it has been sliced into nice little individual pieces. The great thing about that is for making variations. So if we, let's just drop this down a little bit. Now, there are ways to move your screen around more as well inside of Ableton 12. You can shift things around. I haven't looked into it yet, but apparently you can, set it up for better views. I'm going to change the color of this clip because I want to know the ones that I've messed around with. I'm going to duplicate it. And then the next one, I'm going to change to a different color. So we know we're working on this kind of pink color clip. And once you've sliced all of your drums up, you can start shifting around. All basic stuff, but I figure I'll tell you what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So each of these, of course, represents probably a piece of that drum loop. So something, this would be like a kick, of course, to start. Snares, hi-hats. And the cool thing about that is that you can then just start messing with it and you can, slice it, shift it around on and off the grid. But let's say I just wanted some extra kicks in here for some reason. And I don't know, I want another snare drum. You can just duplicate that over. Need to make sure we select the right MIDI clip. So maybe we put another one back in here. So you can see how you can get some like interesting patterns. I'm not going to spend forever doing this because otherwise it'd be a pretty boring video, but let's just shift a few things around and just, have like a little pattern so that we've got something to switch to. We'll only do like 2 patterns, nothing crazy. And I kind of like how that starts. It's got like that weird kind of bump, 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 bump. I like that little kind of break. And maybe I want to just kind of replicate that, like here again, as it kind of starts off. I think that's... yeah, just need to make sure we're putting it in the right place. So kind of here. Now I could just copy and paste the whole first bar, but for the sake of it, let's just do it this way and we'll just brush it back in again, because maybe we'll make this one slightly different. I'm just, yeah, replicating what's going on here a little bit. And I just want to know what that note is there. That's our snare. So maybe we just kind of like finish off with like a little, I don't know, some kind of roll. But to make it slightly more interesting, let's make sure with the velocity it kind of fades out or something, so it's not just a straight up roll. You get the idea. Good enough for now. So we've made 2 pattern variations. I think what I want to do now is I want to do the same thing that I do before. I want to make some kind of sample, or at least, yeah, I think maybe some kind of sample that we can chop up and put to our drum break. So we're doing the kind of hip hop thing that I usually do, but I just want to start experimenting with different drum patterns, different breaks, different speeds. Just gets too boring when you do the same thing all the time. But I kind of like this. So I'm going to, what we're going to do here, we're going to rename this as our drums, because we'll probably keep hold of this, kind of like those drum breaks. I'm going to delete out the original audio file just because volume wise means we can just switch between the two here. And I'm going to do file and save. You can see we can switch between our original break and the sliced up one. Keep them different colors, makes it easier when you're messing around later on. We'll go to plugins and I'm going to search for contact. And I'm going to drag a contact in. First thing I want to talk about here is just something slightly unrelated, but the Teletone Audio, the guys over there, they've put out this new little video. They actually sent me a link to it because I've been in contact with those guys. But if you've got problems with your plugins loading inside of Contact, not just Teletone Audio stuff, any plugins inside of here, you find they're slow, they load slowly, and they'd noticed, I think that's why they reached out to me, they'd noticed on some of my videos that the plugins were loading slowly. You can use this little icon here and do a batch resave. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole procedure because those guys have explained it better than I can. It's only a short video, a couple of minutes, and I'll put a link to the description, a link to it in the description even underneath. Go and check it out. They've got a bunch of stuff anyway. If you're interested in any Teletone Audio stuff, they always do amazing walkthroughs and things like that. But this is a real little lifesaver, and it isn't just for Teletone Audio. It's for any plugins that you've got. If you find they're loading slow, do this batch resave thing, which I'm assuming maybe just kind of like re-indexes the files or something. But it's made a massive difference. I kind of assumed all of my plugins were loading slow because my iMac is old. Turns out, actually, if you do this batch resave, that you can, you can really speed up that process. So I'm going to be using some Teletone Audio stuff anyway, just because it's here and I think it's going to work well. I'm looking for maybe like a dark, cinematic kind of sound. Anamorph, one of the first ones up here. I'm not going to be fussy. Let's just dive in. We've got all of these, whoops, a little bit too far. We've got all of these great presets that we can choose from and just look for a particular sound that we want. So I've got no idea. I am not super savvy with all of these just yet, but Tokyo Sauna sounds great. So let's just double click that one. See how quickly that loaded up. That definitely was loading up slower for me before. So yeah, definitely check out that video that's in the link if you're interested. It will work for other stuff. I think my Rhodes piano from Native Instruments was really slow as well. It's really speeded that up. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, nice sound. I love the Teletone stuff because they're giving you some like warmth and grit and ways that you can play around with them like right in the box. No need to stack on too many other plugins. So maybe sometimes I'll add delay or some extra reverb if it's not in the parameters here, but they just have a great sound. Let's see what character does. But shadow. It kind of thickens things up a little bit. And with my love of like old 70s like thriller cinema, that kind of, yeah, instantly starts ticking boxes for me. Let's just see what happens if we turn up the glide. Yeah, I kind of like that. I'm going to just quickly go to the audio effects. Let's clear this out for a second. And we'll add a little delay. Whatever it is. Really need to put my favorites back. Real subtle, nothing crazy. And yeah, I don't know. I was thinking of maybe doing like a sample thing and chopping it up, but I don't know. Maybe we just record. We switch things up completely and let's just record in over the top. Let's noodle around, see if we can get like a real basic loop. Okay, let's use MIDI capture. Maybe we've got what we need there. Close that off for a second. Good enough. What is wrong with this picture? So we got a little extra note we don't need there. Let's pop that back to the beginning. Okay, not sounding too bad. We need to adjust the volume a bit. Wearing headphones, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to try and mix properly. But for now, I just want to start leveling things out a little bit while we just build this idea. We're not building a full track, we're just going to build a beat, an idea. So yeah, I kind of like that as a sort of go-to. I'm going to start naming things so that I know what they are. It's kind of like a, yeah, it's called Tokyo Sauna, I think, was it? But I'm just going to call it Pad, because to me, yeah, it's probably a little bit more synthy than it is pad, but I want to use it as kind of a bit of an underlayer. If we quickly go back into the plugin, just want to see what happens when I play around with this mod. Yeah, so we can go into Ableton here. We can use this little drop down. And it'll tell me to pick some parameters. I'm assuming if I click here, I can now automate this particular parameter. So we're just going to have it kind of duck a little bit throughout the track. So maybe even just like a little, I don't know, maybe a little sort of V shape. We put a couple of points at the end and just duck it in the middle somewhere. Just to begin to give it some like life and some movement. Then what we'll do is we'll duplicate this track. And the reason for that is because I just want to go straight back to the other plugin. So rather than booting it back up, we'll just duplicate it. We can delete out the MIDI information that we don't want. And then when I click on this, I can just open up the contact and we can just change preset to something else. Because I like the sounds that are in here, so maybe we can find something else that's going to work for us. Just going to click over, see what this one's like. Need to select the right MIDI channel so we can hear it. And actually, for the kind of style and the thing that we got going on, maybe that could work. Yeah, real simple. My bad, accidentally deleted those. I don't want this. There's just a little note I must have accidentally hit there. Didn't want that one. Shift this one over a little bit. But again, we're not trying to stick things to the grid. We want to keep a nice human sort of feeling here. But I think that does just kind of build that up a little bit. And as much as we're not getting into the mixing and all that kind of stuff now, I want to just pan those over a little bit just to start spreading things out. The stereo field just makes it feel a little bit wider, obviously. I'm going to name this one. Let's just rename this so that we've got some idea of what we're doing. I'm not sure what to call that. I can't remember what the preset was called now. Forgotten. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to call it Synth 1. I'll remember what it is. You'll remember. Let's make it a different color again, just so that I don't get confused later on when I'm starting messing with things. And I just want to quickly save again, because this is the beta that we're testing for Ableton. If this crashes out on me and I really like this idea, I'll be upset. So I think we need something kind of higher up. And again, because I like the plugin that we're using, if it ain't broke, let's not try and fix it. So we're going to duplicate. And we are going to delete the MIDI information again. It means I can go straight back to this contact. And then I can take a look for, what else is another preset is what I'm trying to say. Tripping over my own tongue. Let's see what else we got. Want to be something quite higher up. Yeah, it's pretty nice as well. And let's see what happens with character. Just wanted to dull it down using the mod there, just to try and just dull out those like little clicky frequency there that I just wanted to get rid of. But again, sounds pretty cool. We've even got like the arpeggiator we could turn on and see what happens. It's going to be pretty crazy fast at 16 notes. Let's, I don't know, let's try 1/8 notes. I don't know. Let's see what that sounds like when we play through, see if we can find some notes that work with it. Let's try... Go back for a second. Yeah, I was trying to work out whether glide was affecting the arpeggiator, which it is. So let's go back to 1/8 notes again. There's definitely something you could do there, but it's not what I'm looking for. I do like this sound though. I just want to see what happens with shadow on this one. Yeah, it's kind of thickening it up a little bit. I want a little bit more reverb, so I'm going to use the hybrid reverb Ableton's. And I'm going to add on the shimmer effect, because this is a high-pitched sound. It will add extra frequencies in there. You can hear that. It's like adding like a soft pad to the back. This puts it into a nice little bit of space. It's quite loud, so we'll turn it down. Excuse me, my mouth is incredibly dry, so I'm just going to take a quick drink. I'm unfortunately probably doing a lot of mouth breathing at this moment because of the COVID. Sounds great. Let's try and record just something like that in. And that's kind of how I wanted it. I didn't want it to be at the beginning, so we've got it coming in right towards kind of the end before, what are we into, like the 8th bar. Yeah, needs to be changed in volume because it's too loud. But like that, sounds quite good. So let's save again, just being pretty cautious with the beta, however you want to say it. Okay, we won't add too much more because I want to wrap this episode up as I'm feeling still not feeling exactly fantastic. I'd like to add maybe just like a couple of little percussive elements, some like little details, and yeah, we'll kind of sign off from there. So in terms of percussive details, let's see what we got. If I go to wave files, I'm also wondering maybe I have some like transition sounds. If I go to my sample shop where I've got all my own, which is a bit of a free plug for myself, but I did make one called transitions for this purpose because I'm always looking for like little transition sounds, little noises. Yeah, things like that. I made a bunch of these just using a bunch of interesting sounds and reverbs and stuff. Let's not have that continuously playing. Let's go to instruments and simpler in so that I can control it in terms of its pitch, and then go back to sample shop. And I'm going to pop that one in. And let's just find a pitch that works for that. kind of in that region. One, it's quite loud. But I might also add in the same. We got one we can just pinch from here. Let's just copy and put the reverb in. Now, when I made this as a little sample, I didn't really care about the tempo and the BPM. That kind of does work and it kind of fits as it is, but I'm wondering if we just keep the note short and we add in another delay, go back to audio effects and then delay wherever you are. That's definitely going to be on my list of things to do before I go to bed tonight, is to put all my favorites back. Let's add a little delay so that we can just use, yeah, little blip of that noise. That was right, but I duffed it on the key, so let's try it again. No, not quite right. We will get there. Because I need to just really just a very soft, quick little hit on there. What I'm also going to do, I'm just going to zoom in for a second and think. Yeah, I just want to take a little bit out of the sample at the beginning. It's better. Good enough. Might just make them a little bit lazier, just for the timing of it. Yeah, okay. And then let's do maybe something else. So we'll take another simpler, pop that in, and go back to sample shop. What I'm trying to work out is whether I should use a plugin, actually. I might use a plugin instead. I might use Labs, so let's search for Labs. Need to check what's happening with Labs as well. I haven't looked at Labs for a little while. There must be, there must be a few new instruments added that I probably haven't downloaded yet. Let's stick a Labs in here. I think the first thing that comes up in Labs is like a percussive set of instrument sounds. Yeah. Which if we do the same thing again, which I know I use the hybrid reverb a lot, but I do really like it. Let's just do copy and paste it in here. So, you know, when RZA made that beat for Guitar Center, that's what it reminds me of. What am I looking for here? Yeah, maybe that. like the sleigh bells, actually. I think I'm going to put those in. But because they're just a note, what we want to do, we want to unfold this. Let's just find where the note is. There we are. I'm assuming maybe like this. Yeah, okay, so I like it like that, but let's make it longer. Let's duplicate the loop, and it's that one there. That one, have it like that. We'll grab all of these, probably just pull them ever so slightly behind. And again, weird like variation. It used to be here where you could vary the note in terms of velocity. Oh, here we are. Is it down here now? Let's see. So if we select all of those notes and we say velocity and we randomize. Yeah, okay. The only problem is because of the style of like the sleigh bell, doesn't work if you go too far. So let's just take the extremes and bring those up a little bit. Can have some variation, but not too much. Otherwise, it just kind of drops out or it becomes just too annoyingly loud. Yeah, I want it kind of to hit a little bit harder as it comes in, and then around here, that should work. Don't need to be too fussy for now. Okay, I think let's maybe add one kind of funny vocal sample, just like I do with like the hip-hop episodes. And we'll call it quits at that, because I think we've got enough going on. That's a seed of an idea, the basis for a track that I could build upon. And it was nice to play around with like the 150 BPM. I kind of like that. We're into more kind of breakbeat territory. And yeah, kind of like it. So let's do save. Let's make sure we're saving. And let's find one little audio file, something, little vocal snippet. We'll take another simpler, just for the control of the pitch. And then let's get some kind of vocal, what we got, vocal rips. Oh, actually, this is like hip-hop songs that have been split. I've done a bunch of like splitting stems on these. Might be kind of cool. Let's just take like a Mob Deep sample or something. Just find a piece of this audio that we like, something dark that we can put in there.
There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from.
If you're a hip-hop head, you'll know that song.
There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. You could run, but you can't hide for. You could run, but you can't hide. There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. There's a war going on outside. There's a war going. There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
I like that little clip. Very well known. May well get me screwed on the algorithm for using that, but who cares? You can't monetize everything. Let's drop this thing down just to that piece.
There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
And what we'll do is we will then crop that sample, so we're only working with this piece, and we will add a couple of effects, starting with some delay.
There's a war. There's a war going on outside.
And again, maybe just a little reverb to kind of push it a little bit further into the background. We could kind of grunge it up a little bit, maybe make it sound like through one of those like crappy old mics. We use some, what have we got here? They really have, they've added, there's probably quite a lot, seems to be more effects in Ableton 12. What am I looking for? Bear with me. I haven't died at the microphone. Let's maybe try either overdrive or pedal. Let's try pedal. It's looking for like a distortion unit so I can see what happens. I want to add it before the reverb, I think. Let's take that down. Let's try fuzz. Yeah, there we go.
There's a war going on outside. There's a war. There's a war. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside.
Yeah, even just something like that's kind of cool. Let's just pull that across a little bit.
There's a war going on outside.
And we'll just record it in somewhere so that it's going to loop around.
There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
Good enough. Timing's not 100% perfect, but that's okay. Let's crop it down to 8 bars. It was just something to end off the episode with. We'll crop this to time selection, as it says.
There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite, the timing of that at the end where he obviously says no man is safe from,
There's
just
a war going
doesn't
on
quite fit.
outside. No man is safe from. There's a war going. There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. There's a war. There's a war. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. There's a war going on out. There's a war going on outside. There's a war. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. There's a war going on. There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
You can kind of get away with it. You'd ideally want to split that, but if you pull it, you know, time stretch it, do whatever you want to do. But rather than messing around with it for too long, that's going to do us for today's episode. What we'll quickly do, we haven't mixed it or done anything, but let's just throw a little compression on here just to level things out a bit, just squish it down.
There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. There's a war going on outside. There's a war going on outside. No man is safe from.
I suppose the one thing we didn't really add in here was any like bass, which kind of seems a little bit of a shame. Maybe we will end up just doing that. I'm wondering whether we've got a bass that we could use. I think for this, because of the nature of it, it's going to be more. Let's go to instruments. Let's just use one of Ableton's own bass. There's going to be a bass sound in here we can sculpt or do something with. let's just go with a real deep classic synth bass. We've ended up with this kind of breakbeaty thing in the end, so let's see what happens. It's crazy loud. Let's bring it down a bit. Because it's got such movement in it, I think, and again, just for time, so that we're not spending ages trying to work this out, might just keep it as just like one long note. Crop that down to 8 bars. We could obviously work out a better baseline, but for the sake of just keeping things simple, let's crop that down. Let's make sure it is snapping to the beginning. Quantize that at the beginning and take it the whole way like this. Maybe we just add a little, I don't know, little filter or something to just kind of filter it out as it comes along. Go to audio effects and auto filter. Put that on. And then we'll use automation again on the frequency. So let's have it like this. Show automation. We're just going to put a point at the top somewhere. It's funny about drawing these in sometimes. Let's make sure it goes in there. Come on. What is your beef, Keith? Let's just have it like that. And then another note, hopefully at the bottom. And I'm just going to draw that. Let's see. Yeah. I don't know, kind of filter it down a good chunk. Yeah, that's going to do us, otherwise we'll be here forever. I'll quickly just play this to end the episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Just wanted to, break the kind of COVID fever. Jump in, do something creative today so that I don't spend the day in bed. And, try something a little bit more experimental. And what we'll do, I'll just, play out on the track. Just drop the volume so we just do a nice little fade out. But I'll just quickly flick between the two breaks that we made as well as we go through. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully I'm feeling a little bit better as well. See you again.